In every legend, there's a sliver of truth. In every tragedy, a forgotten warning. They Were Both Found Dead is your guide through the eerie and the unexplained, where history collides with horror and not everyone makes it out alive.
Hi, welcome to They Were Both Found Dead. My name is Adrian.
And I'm Ramsey, and today we're talking about stranded, people being stranded, again. This is part 2, but you do not have to listen to part 1 to listen to part 2, so if you want to keep listening to this, and then, go back and hear more stories because you're curious, you can do that. That's totally an option.
It's just different stories. Going with another one is going to be 2 Ramsey, 1 me.
We were talking about movies a lot, because a lot of yours are both in movies. Are there just any general movies you watched recently that were good? I saw you went and saw the third Avatar. Was it awesome?
Oh, I loved it. It was really good. There's obviously some notes, like the human guy. I could have gone with less of him. But there was really cool scenes. Like, they usually don't show the human side or, like, the human society that's building in Pandora. But in that one, they did. More? And, like, yeah, they showed it more, and they showed, like, our main characters going in there and stuff, and it was pretty cool. I like that part a lot.
Okay, love that.
Yeah, I liked it more than the second one, but not as much as the first one.
Okay.
What about you,
Interesting.
Ramsey? Seen anything?
I watched Fargo the other night, and that was really good, and I think you should watch it. I think you really like it.
It's on my list.
For people in general. Well, move it up.
you when you told me that, it was already on my list, and I was like, oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to watch it now. Isn't what's his name from Shameless in it? Have you seen Shameless?
Frank Gallagher. Yeah, he's like the same.
Yeah.
The main person. Everyone's acting job is incredible.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'll watch it. I just saw Zombieland. I liked it. That one.
The first one or the second one?
First one.
You just saw it for the first time?
No, I've seen it before, but it's been a while.
Okay. Good. I was about to be really offended. You've seen Weapons, right?
Yeah, I have.
Did you like it?
I liked it. It was just confusing. I liked the lady. The lady was really, like, iconic villain.
Yeah, she was freaky as hell. I also watched Alice recently. Really liked that. It was about, like I've mentioned to you before, that plantations, the last plantations that were found and the slaves were freed were in the 70s. And it's about someone in one of those plantations escaping and realizing it's the fucking 70s. And,
what?
Do you know who David Lynch is?
Sounds familiar.
He's a really iconic director. Have you heard of Eraserhead?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Well, he directed that, but we watched Mulholland Drive by him the other night, and everyone else hated it, but I loved it. I loved it.
Also, I'm reading a book, The Animal Farm. Oh my
gosh,
done? The Animal Farm. No. I know it's a super small book, but I read like 60 pages, and I only have like 20 left. And
I'm not gonna say a word.
I'm excited. I'm very annoyed with Napoleon. Oh, is that a spoiler? Oops.
That book, what year did The Animal Farm come out? It came out in 1945.
Damn. Oh my god, I did not think it was that. Wow, and it's so prevalent.
Over 80 years old. I think you're okay to spoil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm very annoyed with Napoleon. Hope Snowball is doing okay.
I'm just gonna...
Alright, anyways.
Alright, so get right into it. My first topic is the Wild Boars. Do you know who these are? Have you heard of the Wild Boars soccer team?
No.
So, the Wild Boars were a youth soccer team from northern Thailand, officially known as the Wild Boars Academy. You just got back from Thailand, like, not that long ago.
Oh, yeah. Very prevalent.
Very on topic.
Very on topic.
The group is made up of 12 boys between the ages of 11 and 16, along with their 25-year-old assistant coach, Ekapul Chantawong. Soccer was a huge part of their lives. For many of the boys, the team wasn't just about sports, it was about community, discipline, and belonging. They practiced regularly, rode their bikes together after school, and were especially close with their coach, who was known for being calm, spiritual, and deeply invested in the boys' well-being. Like, the one thing that kept, like, coming up constantly throughout the entire time I was doing research for this was no one blames the coach. The parents love the coach. Everyone loves the coach. He's a very, like, respected member of the community.
Okay. Good.
So, pour one out for Ekapul. Well, no, don't pour one out. You do that for dead people. Cheers.
I still don't know what he does, so let's see.
You're like, I don't know if I give a fuck about this guy yet. So on June 23rd, 2018, after a routine practice, the team decided to explore the Tam Luang Nong Non Cave, a popular local site they had visited before. What they didn't anticipate was how quickly conditions could change. Seasonal monsoon rains began earlier and heavier than expected, causing water to rush into the cave system. There was actually a sign outside the cave warning people from entering, specifically during monsoon season, though, is what the sign said. And then it gave the months that you shouldn't enter for monsoon season, and it was still like a full month away. Like, I'm pretty sure July was monsoon season, and it was like June 2nd or something like that.
I think I've heard about this, actually.
It was a really big deal. Oh, it was June 23rd.
Yeah.
And I think August was the posted.
What year was this?
2018.
Okay, maybe it is what I'm thinking about. Okay.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Yeah.
As they moved deeper inside, the passages they had used to enter became flooded, cutting off their exit. The rising water forced them further into the cave, eventually trapping them on a narrow ledge deep inside, surrounded by darkness, cold stone, and rising water. With no way out and no communication with the outside world, the team and their coach were suddenly isolated underground, not knowing how long they would be there, or if anyone even knew that they were there.
The coach was with them?
It was the coach and all these kids. And the coach was only 25. So basically your age, pretty much, with a bunch of children.
And you're taking care of, you have to take care of all these kids.
Don't even know if someone's coming to
in a
save
situation?
You. Ooh.
Wow. I don't know. That's a lot.
I never want to go in a cave on water, even close to water now. I never thought about that happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of underwater cave systems in Mexico.
Have you, dove in them?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Not diving, but, just going through them. You know, I didn't just dive into the water and go into a cave.
Okay, nutty putty.
I was it wasn't that. It was a big cave, not small caves.
Have you seen the movie, it's by M. Night Shyamalan. It's Aging or something.
Like The Aging Beach? Old?
It is called Old. It's like the one in Old when they have to go through and they have to swim through it, and that's how they...
I've never seen that movie, so you just spoiled it for me.
That's the premise.
Oh, okay.
You should watch it, though. It's actually a decent... A lot of people didn't like it. It's not, amazing. I'm not oh my god, one of the best movies of all time, but it's worth a watch. So, inside the cave, the Wild Boars and their coach were forced to adapt quickly. With floodwaters blocking their exit, they moved deeper into the cave system, eventually settling into a small, muddy ledge above the waterline. It was completely dark, cold, and humid. They had no food, limited drinking water from dripping cave walls, and no sense of time passing. Coach Ekapol encouraged the boys to stay calm, conserve energy, and meditate, something he had learned as a former Buddhist monk.
Ooh, okay, that's good, at least.
This 25-year-old has a whole backstory, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but...
Lived a lot of lives.
Could you imagine going on a first date with a 25-year-old being yeah, I was trapped in a cave once. It was this whole thing with all these kids, and also I was a confirmed Buddhist monk.
I'd be outshined all the time, so I would not go for a second
You
date
need to be
there.
the main character in your relationship?
Yeah, I sure do.
I get that feeling. I get that. I relate to that. So the boys had to literally huddle together for warmth. They took turns resting and relied heavily on each other to manage their fear and exhaustion. It's the opposite of Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Above ground, concern began almost immediately. When the boys didn't return home that evening, parents started calling one another. By nightfall, several bicycles were found parked near the cave entrance, which was unusual and alarming. Family members notified local authorities, and a search began quickly. The entrance to the cave was already partially flooded, making it clear that if the team was inside, conditions were dangerous and worsening by the hour. As hours turned into days, the realization set in that this was no longer a simple missing person situation. Heavy rains continued, raising water levels and making rescue efforts incredibly difficult. Volunteers, park rangers, and military personnel gathered at the site, while families waited anxiously nearby. Inside the cave, the boys had no way of knowing that a massive search effort was building above them. They only knew they were trapped, together, and hoping that someone would find them before time ran out. The rescue mission itself was one of the most complicated and dangerous cave rescues ever attempted. Tam Luang was flooded, narrow, and twisting, with zero visibility in many sections. International cave divers were brought in because regular rescue teams simply could not navigate it.
Oh my god.
That's how intense this was.
Wow. Why would they go in there?
It wasn't supposed to flood yet. It was unseasonable.
Still.
Climate change.
Yeah.
Divers had to swim for hours through submerged tunnels, remove their tanks to squeeze through tight passageways, and then reverse the entire route. During these efforts, former Thai Navy SEAL Saman Kunan died after running out of oxygen while placing air tanks along the route. Years later, another diver involved in the rescue, Sean Beaumont, would also pass away due to complications linked to the mission, adding to the quiet cost of what the world often remembers as a miracle.
Oh my god. Wow. So people do be dying.
Yeah, it's sad.
Wow.
Rescue workers often don't get their credit for the risk they're taking to save other people.
I know, right? I wouldn't even thought that any rescuers would like really die like that, but I guess they do. Like whenever you hear about somebody getting like ledged in, what is it called? Cave diving or whatever? And people say rescuers go in there and take them out and they actually do it. Like, I really don't think about the rescuers that much, but yeah, they'd be doing something crazy. Something impossible.
What made the rescue even more dangerous was the condition of the boys themselves. They were weak, malnourished, and none of them knew how to dive. The route out required hours underwater through pitch black tunnels with strong currents. If even one boy panicked, thrashed, or removed their mask, it could have killed both the child and the diver guiding them. This is where the controversial decisions came in. Doctors and divers agreed there was no safe way to bring them out fully conscious. So what do you think they did? Do you think they just knocked them out? Punched them in the head?
I think they give them, what, like CO2? No, that would kill them, right? I don't know. Like, I have no idea, actually. What do they do?
So this is when ketamine enters the plan.
Oh my god.
Call Elon Musk.
Whoa.
He is not ready to show up to the party.
Holy shit. Mr. Krabs on ketamine?
Mr. Krabs.
That's a game.
So each boy was given a carefully calculated dose to sedate them without stopping their breathing. Ketamine was chosen because it keeps patients unconscious while still allowing them to breathe on their own, which was critical in an environment where intubation was not possible. Ugh, even thinking about that. Ugh. So the boys were fitted with full face masks, secured to stretchers, and essentially carried through miles of flooded cave while unconscious. It sounds extreme because it was, and it worked.
Good.
Against overwhelming odds. Yeah, I know, thank God. We don't have to read to hear about a bunch of kids dying. I could see me doing that.
It's already happened before.
It has. Against overwhelming odds, all 12 boys and their coach were brought out alive. The plan was risky, controversial, and terrifying, even for the professionals involved. But in a situation where every option was dangerous, it was the least deadly one. The rescue remains a rare case where preparation, international cooperation, and some very bold medical decisions came together just in time. And I forgot to include it in the script, but something I thought was kind of fun that I read about was the boys were so calm when rescue came, and it took like so much, like they couldn't take them all at once, and they could only do like a dive a day because of how long it takes, and then they need a certain amount of recovery time, that it was like a couple of days of rescuing. And in order to decide what order the boys were going to come out, I don't know what logic they were thinking that they were just going to come out and they thought they were going to have to take their bikes home. Like they would have to come out and bike home by themselves and then be like, hello family, I've arrived. So they were like, okay, since we have to bike home still, the kids who live furthest away and have to bike the furthest, they can go first.
I mean, honestly, it's really hard to make it that decision, so I'm glad they figured something out. Because I would have want to go out first.
Yeah. It's such a pure and innocent way of them like all just trying to genuinely be fair and do right by each other.
Yeah, opposite of Lord of the Flies.
I think if you were to take a elementary school or middle school in the middle of the United States and do this, it would be a different story.
Yeah.
In the weeks and months after the rescue, the focus shifted from survival to healing. The boys and their coach spent time in the hospital recovering physically and psychologically.
What the fuck?
I shut down. I was rebooting like a Windows computer.
Good.
The boys and their coach spent time in the hospital recovering physically and psychologically, gradually returning to normal life. They were celebrated globally, invited to events, met world leaders, and became symbols of resilience under pressure.
Wow.
Several of the boys later entered monkhood temporarily, a traditional Thai practice meant to honor gratitude and reflection, also doing it for the diver who lost his life during the rescue. Despite the media attention, families and doctors worked to keep the boys grounded and protected as they processed what they had been through. The rescue also left lasting impacts beyond the team itself. It sparked international discussions about cave safety, emergency preparedness, and the risks taken by rescuers. Memorials were created to honor Saman Kunin, whose death became a solemn reminder of the cost of rescue work.
Good. I'm glad they're giving him his representation.
Yes, gotta give that man his flowers. R.I.P.
I hope no situation like that ever happens again.
Yeah, it will, though.
Yeah.
It always does.
True, you're right.
Unfortunately.
All right, well, now that yours is done and that's concluded, and good thing we got answers from that one, now it's my turn.
Yes. I'll only fuck you up with one mystery. It'd be fucked up for me to come to the table being like, here's a bunch of questions I have.
Yeah, I'm going to stop paying attention if you do 2 in a row, I swear. All right. So mine is about another thing that you probably heard about this. It was very broadcasted around the world. The 33 Chilean miners.
Yes, I was in the 4th grade when this happened. I remember in my Mr. Foe in our social studies class every single day, 5 days a week, we would have an update on the Chilean miners. And so I was invested. I've always loved history. I love social studies. And I was so invested in every update. And I'd come home and talk about it. And my aunt tells a story where her husband literally was like, I want some chili or something like that. And I was like, the Chilean miners? Yeah, I've been reading about them. Isn't it crazy? And he's like, yeah, this is the last 4th grader. And I was like, no, I want chili.
That's so stupid. Oh my god. That's funny though.
So they'll still randomly be like, Chilean miners. Because that's all I would talk about for a while.
I love hyperfixations. In August of 2010, a copper and gold mine near San Jose, Chile, collapsed without warning. The mine was privately owned, poor maintained, and had long record of safety violations. When the rockfall happened, 33 miners were working more than 2,000 feet underground. The collapse sealed off the main access tunnels and destroyed ventilation shafts. Almost immediately,
oh my gosh.
Contact with the surface was lost. That's scary.
That is extremely scary. Deeply uncomfy.
I know. Yeah. This is super uncomfortable. At first, officials believed the miners were dead. The collapse was extensive, and previous incidents at the mine had ended in fatalities. Rescue attempts were slow, partly due to uncertainties about where the miners might be trapped and partially because the mine itself was unstable.
Yeah, it'd be hard to not be able to communicate with where they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible. They're 2,000 feet on the ground, and they can be like any pocket. For more than 2 weeks, there was no confirmation that anyone had survived. Underground, the miners had taken shelter in a reinforced emergency chamber. It was designed to hold people temporarily, not for long-term survival, but inside there were limited supplies meant to last a few days. Canned food, crackers, and powdered milk. Knowing rescue might take time, the miners rationed immediately. Each man received a small bite of food every 48 hours. They collected water by draining pipes and reused containers. Lights were kept off as much as possible to conserve power.
That's smart.
Yeah, it is, but a little bit of food every 48 hours... I'm done. I'm checking out.
Literally. That's just a lot of laying there in the dark thinking about what's happening to you.
Yeah. Oof. That's scary. Also, there is a movie that I watched about this one. It's called The 33.
Okay.
And that one was also good. Really, okay. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it seems like everything I'm saying is what they did in the movie, so. As days passed, heat became one of the biggest threats. I would hate that. Temperatures in the chamber rose above 90 degrees. With high humidity and little airflow. Sleep was difficult.
I guess since they're underground, I thought it would be cooler. But yeah, that would be horrible.
I know, right?
Okay.
In a place that you can't go, you can't even breathe fresh air. Oh my god.
I didn't think about that either.
Horrible. Infections and skin conditions began to develop. Mentally, the situation was just as severe. The miners did not know if anyone was looking for them or if the collapse had gone unnoticed. But 17 days after the accident, a drill bit broke through into the chamber. When it was pulled back to the surface, it carried a handwritten note taped to it. It read, "Estamos bien en el refugio los 33. We are well in the shelter, the 33 of us." It was the first confirmation that anyone had survived.
That is so positive. I love that.
I know. So if you see it in the movie, it's like everybody's like cheering, and it's because there was like people asking them to look for them, like their families and stuff. So like they camped outside the mines and everything. From that point on, the operation shifted from recovery to rescue. Engineers, medical teams, and drilling specialists from Chile and abroad were brought in. Communication lines were established using narrow boreholes. Food, water, and medicine were sent down in capsules. For the first time, the miners could speak to their families. Oh, imagine, from such helplessness.
That's so sweet.
I know, since like it was like 3 weeks of not knowing nothing, but they got all the food that they need and stuff. But like this is just the beginning.
It all becomes worth it.
Yeah, but this is the beginning because there's a lot of mining to do for 2,000 feet underground, and like they only had like a little hole of a drill that they get into it.
Yeah.
But it's not hopeless. Life underground settled into a strict routine. The miners divided themselves into work groups. Cleaning, food distribution, maintenance, and moral were shared responsibilities. A leader emerged, not through force, but through coordination and trust. Medical staff on the surface monitored their physical and mental health, advising on exercise, diet, and sleeping cycles to prevent muscle loss and psychological collapse. You know, you don't think about those things, but it's important.
Bunch of smart men.
Yeah.
Smart dudes.
Drilling a rescue shaft large enough to extract a person was slow and dangerous. 3 separate drilling plans were launched simultaneously in case one failed.
That's so smart.
Progress was measured in inches. At any point, another collapse could have ended everything. And they probably would have stopped like way before this, but since it got so much media coverage, they got like a lot of funding to do a lot of stuff.
That's good. Oh, that's horrible to think about them being like, sorry, LOL, bye.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's not much we can do, so I'm sorry. Like, that's scary. That's crazy. After more than 2 months underground, a narrow rescue capsule was completed. One by one, the miners were brought to the surface in a process that took nearly 24 hours. Each man was strapped into the capsule, isolated, and lifted through the shaft they had waited weeks to see. On October 13, 2010, the last miner was rescued. All 33 has survived after the 69 days underground.
69 days, that's hilarious.
67 days.
Have you seen the TikToks that's like 68 trying to give 67 and 69, let them have their
Yeah,
moments
I saw
and
that.
try not to act out?
It was like the middle child is 6'8". The rescue was broadcasted live around the world. It was framed as a triumph of technology and cooperation, and in many ways it was. But in the months and years that followed, the reality proved more complicated. Several miners reported long-term psychological effects, including anxiety, depression, and difficulty returning to normal life. I mean, yeah, the mine itself was permanently closed, but accountability for the conditions that caused the collapse remained limited. Oh, yeah. Obviously.
That's literally why does that always happen?
Yeah,
No one
crazy.
ever wants to take accountability. Toni Collette, insert her right here.
So now I can't accept, and I can't forgive, because nobody admits anything they've done!
Yes.
Nobody ever wants to admit anything that they've done!
I love that scene. That was my story.
Well, it makes me happy. It gives hope. I love that they were rescued.
Yeah.
I forgot how long they were down there.
For a long, long time. Yeah, until, I mean, they weren't discovered for a while, so. Now on to yours, Rams.
Last but most certainly not least, I got a pretty cool lady. So our final story today follows Ada Blackjack, a woman often coined as the female Robinson Crusoe.
Her name is Blackjack.
She's cool. The expedition Ada Blackjack joined was organized in the early 1920s by Vilhjalmur Stefansson, an Arctic explorer determined to prove that the far northern islands could be permanently inhabited. His plan centered on Wrangel Island, a remote and ice-locked landmass north of Siberia that several nations had interest in. Siberia. It's cold there. It's one of the coldest places in the whole world.
Yeah.
So Stefansson promoted the venture as both a scientific mission and a geopolitical claim, framing it as an opportunity to gather data, hunt for food, and strengthen British and Canadian presence in the Arctic. Funding came primarily from backers in Canada and the United States, including newspaper interests that wanted exclusive stories, along with Stefansson himself, who promised the expedition could largely sustain itself off the land. Ada was hired not as an explorer, but as a seamstress and cook, roles Stephenson considered essential but secondary. She was a young Inupiat woman from Alaska, widowed, with a young son to support, and the job was presented to her as a relatively straightforward domestic work for a small group of men. Crucially, she was told that a larger team would be involved, including additional support staff and, eventually, a ship that would regularly resupply them, as well as being told that several other Inupiat individuals would be coming along as well. In reality, the core party consisted of just 4 young white men, none of whom had significant Arctic survival experience, and Ada was the only woman. She was not fully informed of how isolated the group would be, or how experimental and risky the mission actually was.
That's important key elements that I would like to know before going to something like this.
That's fucked up.
It really is.
So, those selected to go included Alan Crawford, the nominal leader, along with Fred Maher, Lauren Knight, and Milton Gall, all in their early 20s. Stephenson himself did not accompany them, despite being the architect of the plan. Instead, he remained behind, managing publicity and finances while assuring the team... I know.
Of course
he didn't go.
Of course.
But yeah, so he assured the team that relief ships would arrive. Ada agreed to go under false assumptions about the size, support, and stability of the expedition, a deception that would later have devastating consequences. When the group finally departed in 1921, they did so believing they were part of a bold but supported endeavor, unaware that they were heading into one of the most isolated survival situations in Arctic history. It's crazy. I mean, I feel so bad for her. She was totally, misled and lied to.
Yeah, horrifying. Imagine.
So, after landing on Wrangel Island in September of 1921, the expedition quickly learned how unprepared it truly was. The men struggled to establish a stable camp as supplies dwindled faster than expected, and promised relief ships failed to arrive. Hunting was inconsistent, and the harsh Arctic winter set in early, bringing months of darkness, extreme cold, and isolation. Ada Blackjack, originally hired only to cook and sew, became essential to daily survival, keeping clothing repaired, preparing what little food they had, and maintaining camp routines as morale deteriorated. By late 1922, scurvy began to take hold, especially among the men who were less disciplined about diet and rest. Tensions rose as illness spread, and hope of rescue failed. Literally years in at this point, January 1923, the situation reached a breaking point. Milton Gall, already weakened by scurvy and exhaustion, left the camp in a desperate attempt to reach help across the ice. He never returned, and is believed to have died shortly after setting out. The remaining 3 men were severely ill, with Lauren Knight bedridden and deteriorating rapidly. By January 28, 1923, Ada Blackjack was effectively the only functional member of the expedition, caring for the others while facing the reality that no rescue had come, and that she was now responsible not just for survival, but for the life and death decisions in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth.
Oh my gosh, the only female. Wow. A group of men doing
She
nothing.
not signed up for this.
Yeah. Had to be taken care of.
In late January 1923, with scurvy ravaging the camp and no rescue in sight, Alan Crawford, Fred Maher, and Milton Gall made the decision to attempt the nearly impossible, crossing the frozen Arctic Ocean to Siberia to find help. They left Wrangel Island on January 28th, pulling a small sled and carrying minimal supplies, already severely weakened by illness and malnutrition. The journey was extraordinarily dangerous, involving shifting sea ice, open leads of freezing water, and extreme cold. None of the 3 men were in good physical condition, and they were traveling into largely unknown territory. They were never seen again, and it is widely believed they perished somewhere on the ice, likely within days of departure.
Damn. She didn't go?
No, so just the 3 men went. Lauren Knight, the last man that is now still alive, was left behind with Ada Blackjack because he was too sick to travel. By this point, Knight was completely incapacitated, unable to walk or care for himself, and suffering advanced scurvy and organ failure. Ada nursed him as best as she could, feeding him, changing him, and trying to keep him warm, despite having no medical training and very limited supplies. Knight's condition continued to worsen, and he died in June. Mind you, the other 3 dudes left in January. Knight died in June of 1923 after months of decline. Ada buried him on the island, marking the grave as best she could.
Wow.
That would be so hopeless. You'd be so alone.
Yeah.
Like, no one's coming.
I would have killed myself.
Yeah, well, she had a son.
Oh, yeah, something to fight for then?
Yeah, you want to keep fighting as long as you can for them, I guess.
Yeah.
After his death, Ada was entirely alone on Wrangel Island. Having outlived the rest of the expedition, she had never truly been given the chance to fully understand. How are you feeling?
Wait, she died?
No, she's just alone.
Oh,
She didn't sign up for this.
Whoa, I thought you finished the story right there. I was like, I'm scared. Anxious.
I'm scared too.
Okay.
I couldn't even imagine being in that situation.
No, yeah, me neither. That's like something, like nightmare.
Literally, a literal nightmare.
For sure.
So, after Lauren Knight's death in June of 1923, Ada Blackjack found herself completely alone on Wrangel Island, facing an Arctic summer and another looming winter with no certainty of rescue. For 8 months, she relied on skills she had never been hired for but was forced to master: hunting, trapping, and maintaining the camp entirely by herself. At first, she was terrified of firearms and had to teach herself to shoot in order to survive, practicing until she could reliably hunt seals and birds. She carefully rationed supplies, repaired shelters, and followed strict routines to keep herself focused, knowing that panic or complacency could be fatal in such isolation.
She hunted seals? Oh my god.
She hunted motherfucking seals.
Wow. Badass.
Ada also battled with the psychological toll of total solitude. With no one to speak to and no way to know if rescue would ever come, she talked aloud to herself and to her cat, which had been brought along by the men and became her only companion. I love that there's a cat there.
Yeah.
Of course there's a cat
Why was
there.
that not mentioned earlier? This changes everything.
Little surprise. There's not really many details on the cat, which sucks because I was really interested in the cat.
Yeah, me too.
She marked time by keeping a diary, noting weather changes, hunting success, and her own emotional state, using structure as a form of survival. She maintained Lord Knight's grave and avoided certain areas of the island associated with the deaths, an act that reflected both respect and self-preservation. Her days were defined by vigilance, work, and the constant awareness that one mistake could end everything. Auto-feeder. Despite her resilience, Ada never framed herself as a hero. She remained focused on one goal: staying alive long enough to return to her son. When a rescue ship finally arrived in August of 1923, the crew was stunned to find her alive, well enough even to walk to the shore and greet them. Ada had survived not through bravado or conquest, but through adaptability, discipline, and quiet endurance, becoming one of the most remarkable survival figures in Arctic history without ever even seeking that title.
That is crazy. She really, survivalist to the fullest is her.
The ultimate final girl in a horror movie. It's her.
They should make a movie of her. 100%.
I'm surprised they don't.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I can't believe she got rescued too. Somebody came, a ship. That's crazy.
Eventually.
Wow, that's good. I mean, yeah, it took a year or whatever.
Years.
Years? Plural?
Years.
How many?
They got there in 1921. I believe they found her at the beginning of 1924.
Wow, 3 years.
The crew found her thin but composed, living in the same camp she had maintained alone for months. News of her survival spread quickly, and she was soon framed by newspapers as a sensational figure, often exaggerating her story or casting it through a colonial stereotype that minimized her skill and agency. Stephenson, eager to protect his own reputation, distanced himself from responsibility for the failed expedition and quietly encouraged narratives that credited luck rather than Ada's competence. Because of course he did.
That's not luck. That's far from being lucky. That's you taking control.
That's fucking effort.
Yes.
After returning to Alaska, Ada hoped the ordeal would bring stability, but that was not the case. She received little financial compensation and no long-term support, despite the publicity generated from her survival. Her health declined in the years that followed, likely worsened by the physical and psychological toll of Wrangel Island. She remarried, continued working domestic jobs, and focused on raising her son, whom she had risked everything to support in the first place. Ada largely avoided public attention, rarely speaking about the expedition unless pressed. Ada Blackjack died in 1983, decades after the world briefly fixated on her survival and then moved on. In later years, historians have reassessed her story, recognizing that she had been misled, exploited, and then erased from credit for her own endurance. Today, she is remembered not as a novelty or an accident of survival, but as a woman who outlived an ill-conceived colonial experiment through intelligence, adaptability, and resolve. Her life stands as a quiet indictment of the system that used her and then failed to care for her once the headlines faded.
Wow. I'm glad we're talking about her.
Me too. She's a badass.
No, yeah, she definitely deserves all that credit. That's crazy.
She'd be a cool person to have dinner with.
For sure. Imagine that. That'd be cool. And the fact that she lived so much longer afterwards and she got to see her kid. Oh, thank God.
She got to raise her son and find love. And live a whole life after.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it happened in the early 1920s, so she died in the 80s, like 60 years later.
Yeah, definitely had a long life. Good. Good for her. I'm so glad. She fought for something worth fighting for.
And we always say, like, oh, that's when I'd kill myself when we talk about these stories. But she's a good example of if you can get through it and live a good life.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you get through it and then you die an even worse death, which... yeah, that blows.
Have you ever heard about those people that, like, survive the most unimaginable things? Like, somebody gets, like, shot in the head and then dropped down a hill, and then they survive. Like, what the hell? That shit is crazy. We need to do one of those. That was the last one, huh?
Yep, that was Stranded. I hope you guys liked it.
Yeah.
What do we have next? Oh, crap, I don't know. Terrorist attacks are next.
Ooh, okay. I could do something with that.
So that's going to be a very non-casual episode. That'll be a heavy one, but it'll be really interesting.
No, it's going to be more elaborate, too. Like, we got to talk about their plans and stuff. Got it.
Yep.
Be there, guys.
Be there at B Square.
All right. Thank you guys for watching us. This was one of a different kind, but...
yeah, mostly survivors. That's good.
Yeah. Also, we're we're in different states.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I hope it works out.
I already forgot. It's like you're here.
I know, right? I was also thinking that, like, when the thing was going on, I was like, yeah, this is exactly the same.
Hopefully it's exactly the same for you.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you some other time. Probably next week.
Next Tuesday.
All right. Bye.
Bye.